Start. Hello, good afternoon from Myanmar mentally. Good afternoon everybody, welcome back to our channel. This is Lauren and welcome back to our channel. Good afternoon everyone. Welcome to our channel, and this is going to introduce some Myanmar natural gems and jewelry, and we were going to have the briefly information about gems and jewelry that from Myanmar. Welcome to our channel, and here is located in center of Myanmar, we call Mandalay, which we can see the city view in here. We can see the Royal Palace, that the Asian Palace of Mandalay. Welcome to our channel. And today we are going to describe a little detail about ruby and spinel, because almost everybody, they cannot differentiate how ruby and spinel have a differentiation among them. So we are going to introduce more about the ruby differentiation and also the spinel, which is the major difference between these two items. Around the world, we have a lot of the places that produce ruby. The most famous place and famous area are India and also Myanmar. Indian ruby is very famous from the ancient times, and also the same as the Myanmar. Myanmar, we have the most famous place that produce ruby is we call Mogul. Mogul is located in the center of Myanmar, which is just a little far from Mandalay. And we have a lot of the precious stone, including the semi-precious, produced from there. And today we are going to explain which is the major difference between ruby and the spinel. From here we can see a lot of the boulders in front of mine. These boulders including colorful stone. These colorful stones are all spinel. And we have the red one and also a little pink one. These are the ruby. We can differentiate these two items in a few of the characteristics. So today we are going to explain which is the major difference between these two items. In here, we can see that a lot of the various items, and the major difference between the ruby and spinel is hardness. All of us know the most hard and the hardest thing in the world in the jewelry is the diamond, which is the hardness of 10, and second hardest thing is ruby and sapphire. Ruby and sapphire with the hardness of 9. And spinel is the third hardest thing, which is the hardness of 8. So the major difference between ruby and spinel is the hardness, which is ruby with the hardness of 9 and spinel with the hardness of 8. And another thing that we can visually differentiate very clearly in detail about the ruby and spinel is the sparkling. The ruby, which is the crystal that do not contain a lot of the sparkling light, so it often and usually came out with the red color, like the dark red we call the pigeon blood, and also the pink red, which does not obtain a lot of the sparkling. But the spinel is like the glass-like crystal, so the crystal contains a lot of the sparkling and the brightness inside of the stone. So we can differentiate spinel and ruby by visually is you can see the sparkling light that came out from the stone. The ruby does not have a lot of the sparkling and the brightness, but the spinel possesses. And the third thing is spinel come out with a lot of the color. It has colorful stone, but the ruby majorly with the red color and also the pink color. Hi Aladdin, welcome back to our channel. And today we are explained that a little and briefly we can differentiate among ruby and sapphire. So ruby and spinel. And another one is why our Myanmar produce ruby because we have a lot of the mining area that contain a lot of the crystal and come out from the precious stone, and we can undergo a lot of the process to become the ruby jewelry and the precious stone. And Myanmar ruby is famous all over the world since from the ancient times. Exactly from the 1936, we have a lot of the ruby that come out from Myanmar and then exported to other foreign countries. Also, India has produced a lot of the ruby, but the major differences between these two countries' stone is Myanmar has the ruby that contain high level of chromium than the India. That means a stone which including a lot of the chromium, the color become darker and darker. So Myanmar ruby have the brightness of the color and also darker color than the India because we have the crystal that contain a lot of the chromium. And also we have the aluminum outside in the crystal, but we can do the more process to exclude the aluminum outside. Like if the stone includes more aluminum outside, it will contain a lot of the spot, like the dark spot and also the white spot that can impact the value of the stone. So we have to exclude the aluminum outside. Myanmar also contains a high level of chromium and also the aluminum outside in the crystal that which can found in the formation of ruby. This is the major difference between the Myanmar ruby and India ruby. And for the spinel, that the spinel crystal has the iron, a higher level of the iron than the ruby, and also it also contains the chromium. But the chromium level in the spinel is less than the ruby, so the spinel color become lighter than the ruby. Yes, for the best quality of ruby, the value is like we cannot measure the value, but in now globally, the price of the gems become more transparent. Like we have a rate of the price for the grade of the gemstone. For the ruby, the highest grade is pigeon blood. There is the red color with the violet, a little violet inside, and the darker color. And the second level is we call the rabbit blood. There is a lighter pink color with the red color. So for the pigeon blood, just only no more than 1 carat, 0.1 carat, the price will be very higher, very higher, like the price is very expensive. For the best quality, we can differentiate that the best quality ruby as in pigeon blood. We can guess the price of the pigeon blood in the global market because all the gemstones, they have a level of the price globally. In nowadays, for the estimate price for the pigeon blood ruby is almost 4,700 per carat. That means 1 carat of the ruby with the pigeon blood, it can sell approximately 4,700 USD. This is the nowadays the pricing level of the ruby with the best quality. And also you have to see, is there any inclusion of scratches inside the stone? If it is flawless, that means without any spot, without any scratches, the price will be higher and higher. And for the ruby, mostly Myanmar ruby that came with the shape of the tabular shape. That means the end and the thickness of the stone is very shallow, not too much thick. So it becomes the tabular shape. So most of the ruby in here, we are cutting in the cushion style. 这个好像是
它什么
那个什么文？应该是那个
去翻译看看。
那个是德语吧？应该是德语。对。俄罗斯还是德语。And for the spinel, it usually come out with the semi-paradigal shape. That means the paradigal shape of the spinel has much thicker than the ruby, and the ruby is shallower than the spinel. This is the major difference between these two items. But in here, in Myanmar and also globally, people use spinel as a substitute of ruby because spinel price is a lot cheaper than the ruby, and ruby is much expensive than the spinel. And here today we are going to introduce that the colorful spinel in front of mine. You can see a lot of the color with the different cutting inside the balls and also the loose stone. But for the ruby, majorly we just identify into the two classes, like the two different items. One is ruby and another one is star ruby. That ruby with the string, with the formation of star, we call the star ruby. So ruby just have the major two kinds. One is the normal ruby and the another one is star ruby. But the spinel has a lot of the color with a lot of the different cutting. Like here, we can also see just the overview of the stone. We can see in these balls, you can see there is a lot of the color inside the balls with a different cutting, which is the color is very shine. That means the sparkling come out from the stone. And this is the spinel. The spinel also have a lot of the material inside the stone that we have to exclude. That means we have to do more procedure to exclude the iron and also the aluminum outside or the other material that become the clear crystal, and we can make the formation of the spinel. You can see a lot of the color in here, that with the green color and also the pink color, orange color, and the light pink and the white color. Of course, for the spinel also we have the grade of the quality that depends on the color of the stone. For the first grading of the spinel is the hot pink color. Hot pink color means the pink color with the red color coming out from the stone. In the formation of the hot pink color is the first grading, and the second grading is light pink color. The pink color like a little lighter than the hot pink color. This is the second grading.